we talk from time to time about cognition and how important it is to help our children to begin to build the skills to help them to think through problems and to be able to see things from a 360-degree perspective. That's going to help them with their social interactions, but it's also going to help them just in everyday activities throughout life. And the thing that I want to talk about today are desires and preferences and wishes. Helping our children on sort of this timeline continuum, starting with desires, moving into preferences, and leading the way to talking about wishes. It's fairly easy to begin to teach desires to children. It goes hand in hand with teaching mands. When a child is wanting something, we want to language it and say, oh, you want that. Do you want a cookie? Do you want some juice? And they begin to understand, well, I want this. And then we do preference assessments. Which one do you want? Which thing is it that you want? Then we try to flip the tables a little bit and have them start to understand what it means for somebody else to want something. Well, you want blue and she wants red. That's really the beginning of perspective taking as well. And so I've got some tips here for you about teaching desires and preferences. The first one is using manding and tacting to teach the desires. So when you're teaching them their own desires, when they're manding, you want to make sure that you're referencing it back and saying, oh, you want the cookie. Oh, you want the milk. Oh, you want the juice. Oh, you want the toy. Using those words so that it helps them to know, and eventually you're going to give them a frame saying, I want, to be able to add to that mand. Tacting the same thing, that when I'm pointing something out and I say, oh, look, fireworks, I'm tacting, and that begins to teach my child what my desires are, what kinds of things I'm interested in. When we teach preferences, we're sort of teaching a hierarchy of desires that, you know, in the case of Jack Riley, we were just watching and she held up a book that was a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse book, and we know he likes that, and she held up a Thomas the Tank Engine. He likes that one too. So which one do you like that much more? What's your preference? And teaching a child that they have preference, teaching them on a scale of things about, okay, you know, you like this and this. And in the beginning, we're showing to them. We're not saying, so which one do you like more? We're just showing and then letting them tell us which one they like more. But eventually, as a child gets older and they have more receptive language, it's something that we can literally language and say, okay, you know, here are your choices. You can have this, this, or this. Which one do you want more? It's a difficult thing sometimes. My son still struggles. Especially if I give him two highly preferred things, it's almost as if I'm torturing him. He's like, I can't choose. But allowing him to work through what his preferences are. Well, I love both of these things, but I slightly like this one more, and that's okay, and that doesn't harm anybody, and life goes on, right? So teaching that hierarchy of desires. By the way, the flip side of that is that we teach the hierarchy of things that aren't good, so that we start to get some self-restraint. If we say, okay, well, this bad thing happened, but which one is worse? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset should we be about this? Because we'd be more upset if this happened. Really helpful with self-regulation. We always want to model about teaching desires and preferences. So we make a point of saying, oh, I always say to my child, I love green. Anything that's green, I love green. I love blue too, but I like green more. So that eventually when my child was asked questions about what does mom like? What are the things what does mom want? That he could say some of the things. He just had to go back through his recent memory and say, yes, he had to be prompted, but because I had modeled, I like this, I want this, I prefer this one over this one. He had a basis to go from. And of course, as always, in all the things that we teach, we want to reinforce that it's okay for our children to tell us about what they like and what they prefer over something else. By setting this up, by creating a situation where they're reinforced for saying what they like and reinforcing what they prefer, what we will see is that it paves a road, a very specific road, for our child to have wishes. Wishes for things that are seemingly unattainable. The real full-hearted, innocent act of wishing for things. Then when we get into executive functions, we begin to be able to look at wishes and say, how can we make this a reality? How can we turn this into a goal? But it doesn't start there. It starts with teaching them what they like and what other people like, and then the gradations of preferences, and eventually we get to wishes and goals. It's really a wonderful gift to give our children. All of the lessons for these things, as all of these different things that we talk about, are available in the skills program, and you can get a free trial of skills to check it out. I love it. And it's what we use at home. They're the same lessons that they worked on with my child in our home. I can't say enough good things about it. But work on desires and preferences so that you pave the way for wishes. It's a fabulous thing.